Hey guys, Deathslayer Magic here with another spoiler video. Sorry it's a little bit late, but so you guys know how like Premiere is known to be a bit glitchy, you know? Well, if you want to truly rip a hole in the universe, wait till the video is at about 95% encoding and then start uploading it to YouTube. I think I created an artificial black hole in my modem. It just broke. I mean, I'd have like every fifth website I go to wouldn't resolve, and then I had to reboot my modem and my router, and I had to recreate like the project, and oh my gosh. But an even bigger disaster is Modern Horizons 2. So let's jump into it. So Arcbound Whelp is next because we don't have enough Arcbound things in our lives yet. So this is basically a 2-2 for 4 because it's modular too, so when it dies you can put the counters on another artifact creature. It's flying and then it has fire breathing, which usually is pretty damn overpowered. You can just dump all your mana into it every turn and you've got a creature that's way bigger and harder hitting than it should be, and usually they strap that ability on flyers. So yeah, but you gotta pay 2 just to get this back up to what it should have cost for 4, so, you know, whatever. Next up, Obsidian Charma. It's a 5-cost 4/4 dragon, and it does have flying, but they didn't feel like putting it first. And this spell costs 1 less to cast for each land your opponents control that could produce a colorless mana. That actually sounds kind of tedious to check for in a game, but okay. When it enters battlefield, destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls, which is annoying. Yeah, forget everything else written on this card. People are just going to flicker this. That'll be fun. Blue-red flicker clone. Yeah, there you go. So next up, Flame Rift. 2-cost sorcery, deals 4 damage to each player. That includes you, in case you didn't immediately notice that. Yeah, I don't like it. Anything that benefits your opponent as much as it benefits you is usually not a good card. Next up, Graceful Restoration. It's a 5-cost sorcery. Choose one target, or return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Which, yeah, that ought to cost 5, so okay. Then return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, but without counters on them. Well, they put a restriction on 1. I'm sure people will appreciate that when you're resurrecting an Eldrazi Titan. Next up, a very confusing card, Calibrated Blast. It's 3-cost instant, and you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in a random order, so that includes the one you stopped on, I guess. Then when you reveal a non-land card this way, so the one you stopped on, Calibrated Blast deals damage equal to that card's mana value to any target, and then flashback 5. So you pay 3 and you have absolutely no idea how much damage it's going to do. I mean, at least it says non-land, because land is just an automatic 0 right off the bat. But red has the lowest CMC spells on average in the game, so, you know, can you really count on it? I mean, in a 2-color deck, maybe. In the right deck, maybe. In a Dragon Tribal deck, maybe. But I don't like maybe. I like definite. So next up, Harmonic Prodigy. It's a 2-cost human wizard with prowess, always fun, 1/3, and if an ability of a shaman or another wizard you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Once again, weirdly specific, so what more is there to say about it? Next up, Orchard Strider, 6-cost Treefolk. When it enters battlefield, create 2 food tokens, and then basic land cycling. Where it's not cycling, it's a tutor. Next up, Battle Plan, 4-cost enchantment at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And then basic land cycling. I mean, it just costs 4 and it's really powerful. Why would you cycle this? Just keep it. I guess in a rush deck. Next up, World Weary. It's a 5-cost enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets -4/-4. And then basic land cycling. Well, that's garbage. Isn't Grasp of Darkness like the same thing for like 2 mana? I mean, I guess this stays on him permanently, so it's actually really funny to strap this to like a 5-cost, but what's that one that's out right now? It costs like 3, and it's like sacrifice a creature during your upkeep. You want something dead, strap that to it. That's way better than this. Next up, Mental Journey. It's a 6-cost instant, draw 3 cards, basic land cycling 2. See, that one makes sense because it costs 6, and you might not need cards right now, or you might not have 6 right now, so basic land cycling 2. There you go. Next up, Landscaper Kolos. That's not landscaping, that's farming. So it's a 5-cost creature, Goat Beast. When it enters battlefield, put target card from an opponent's graveyard on the bottom of their library. That's weird, arbitrary, and random. And then basic land cycling too. Definitely the weirder one in this cycle. Now we've got some card in some other language, and I don't have the translations open. Awesome. Alright, it's Scale Up. It's a 1-cost sorcery, and until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a green worm with base power and toughness 6/4, and then overload 6, which would then make it each instead of target. That's kind of fun. It's from MH1, obviously. Next up, Gifts of the Fae. It's a 3-cost enchantment, and at the beginning of each end step, if you cast a creature and non-creature spell this turn, create a clue token, a food token, and a treasure token. Boy, they really are just absolutely tickled over there at Wizards of the Coast about clue tokens, food tokens, and treasure tokens. They've just been like bringing them back nonstop, and I don't have a problem with them, but it's like they just choose the most random things to get weirdly obsessed with, like bringing Storm back, for example. We've also got Greed, 4-cost enchantment, 1 black, pay 2 life, draw a card. Yeah, that's a huge reprint. Yeah, this one goes back to about 94. At least it costs mana, otherwise people could just be like, I activate it 9 times and then, I don't know, Death Shadow, I win. Or, combo goes off, I win. Or I drew, 9 extra cards and now I'm discarding them, so then discard trigger, I win. There is so much messed up stuff you can do with this already, even with the cost in it. Next up, Llanowar Tribe. Oh boy, Elf Druid Tribal, my favorite. 3 costs and you tap for 3. So it's like the card 8 fucking bears, except for Elvish Mystics, and if there was 3 of them. Next up, Feast of Sanity. It's a 4-cost enchantment, and whenever you discard a card, deal 1 damage to any target, and you gain 1 life. Boy, they're really doubling down on people actually playing Madness, which, I don't see coming. That wasn't even good when it was in Standard. And remember, that was at the same time as Delirium. Anyway, next up we got Persist. It's a 2-cost rare black sorcery. Nice. Target a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard. That's probably not the exact wording, but okay. Return it to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Yeah, I kind of should have figured that a card called Persist is literally just the keyword persist in card form. I mean, okay, I'll give him this. It's better than Undying. Undying was just broken. But Persist was really annoying too. So, turn 2... what? I mean, I guess not Ulamog. I was going to say Ulamog, but he's legendary. Don't worry, guys. It gets a -1/-1, and it's non-legendary. There's nothing in the game that's good that's not legendary. Any dinosaur, any of the sub-titan, Spawn Sire of Ulamog, Pathrazor, Ulamog's Crusher, Ulamog's anything with the word Ulamog in it, anything with hexproof. I mean, comment section on mythicspoilers.com is saying Sundering Titan, Protean Hulk, let's see, Lotleth Giant, Hellkite Overlord, basically any demon, Craterhoof Behemoth, Ashen Rider, Agent of Treachery. God, you'd have to be some sick little monkey to play that. Hey, wait. Is Platinum Angel legendary? So, yeah, this card's a dumpster fire. Let's move on to Fabricante d'Academia. Or as I like to call it, Academy Manufacturer. So it's a 3-cost 1/3 assembly worker. And, wow, they actually fit that all in the line. Amazing. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, create 1 of each instead. Okay, that's just amazing. I don't even care if that's broken. That is so ridiculously creative and psychotic. It's just gotta be at least a little bit fun. So you create any of the 3, you create all of the 3. So no matter what your deck does, throw this in. It's colorless, so it slots right in. It's 1/3, so okay, it's defensive, whatever. And then you just start, running off clues and treasures in your food deck, or you start getting food in your treasure deck. That's freaking crazy. Next up, Constable of the Realm. Whoa, bro, she is both large and in charge. So, 5-cost giant soldier with Renown 2. I remember Renown being cool. Let's see. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put 2 1/1 counters on it. Oh, that's right. First hit, it gets promoted. Okay. The old RTS veterancy system. Nice. And then whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Constable of the Realm, I can't imagine when that would happen. Exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent until Constable of the Realm leaves the battlefield. So you're gambling hard on a garbage 3/3 for 5, hitting them somehow, doesn't have flying, isn't unblockable, doesn't have menace, and then all you get out of it is a temporary exile. I've got an idea, just run a temporary exiler. Wasn't it like a really good one in Kaladesh? There, run that. Well, these don't all have to be gems. I mean, some of these are for draft purposes, and well, this is an uncommon. So next up, we got Piru the Volatile. So it costs that crazy-ass mana. It's flying and lifelink, 7/7. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Piru unless you pay 1 of each color. When Piru dies, it deals 7 damage to each non-legendary creature. Well, that thing's just power incarnate, but good luck getting it out. Let's be honest, as Modern, you're just going to cheat it out. Next up, Upheaval. It's a 6-cost sorcery. Return all permanents to their owner's hands. Not non-land permanents, permanents. Do they just think, how could we make dropping an emblem on somebody even more dickish? Oh, let's return everything to hand. I mean, let's be honest, they have one turn to get like a land back in play and maybe cast a 1 cost, and then they're going to discard down to 7, which is going to mostly be their lands. I mean, you too, but if you had something, I don't know, something in exile on a delayed flicker, or like a suspend card, I guess is probably what they were going for based on this set. Yeah, this would do it. I mean, they literally can't do anything if they don't have mana or lands. So, yeah, this card is completely insane. Next up, Mirari's Wake, which was actually mapped. The path of the Mirari artifact drone probe, it's a long story. It was like pieced back together on the card, the Mirari Conjecture. So the story behind that is that like scientists way in the future on wherever the hell, I don't know, Dominaria or whatever, they were trying to like figure out what happened with the Mirari artifact like a long time ago, like 10,000 years in the past, based on the damage that's still persisting from the environment. And I think like it was either the flavor text or the person who designed the card, one of the two. They said it's like trying to put back together a nuclear blast by looking at like the pieces left over or something. So fun little lore thing. Let's read the actual card here. It's a 5-cost green white here. Mythic enchantment. Hello. And I thought it sounded familiar. Yeah, it was in Commander 2017. And Judgment. I knew it sounded familiar. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. So just a standard mana doubler for 5. So next up, Legion Vanguard. Oh boy, the Conquistadors are back. Muy bien. It's 2-cost 2/2 Vampire Soldier. You pay 1, sacrifice another creature. Oh wow, a 1-cost sack outlet for 2. And Legion Vanguard Explorers. Ooh. This in an Aristocrats deck would be insane. Although in Modern, I feel like there's like 0-cost and 1-cost sack outlets. But like the Explorer thing, I mean, come on. That's a damn good card. Next up, Territorial Kavu. Well, better than a Hammered at least. 2-cost Star Domain. Territorial Kavu's power and toughness are each equal to the number of basic land types among lands you control. And then whenever Territorial Kavu attacks, choose 1. Discard a card if you do draw a card, or exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. I do like picking apart opponents' graveyards one at a time. That just helps undo so many degenerate strategies. So this is kind of neat, but I mean, it's kind of encouraging to play like 5 colors, which is a fun gimmick that occasionally works. Next up, we've got Yavimaya, La Cuna del Crecimiento. I don't think I know what either of those words mean. Oh, Cradle of Growth. Yeah, I wouldn't have known that. So it's a legendary land, aka Tierra Legendaria. And quite simply, each land is a forest in addition to its other types. So this is basically, what is that? Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth or whatever. It's one of them Urborg cards. You know, the one that turns all lands into swamps, but also they maintain their old thing too. So it's like Blood Moon except fair. Well, now we got a forest version of it. I don't know what the point of this is other than like Forest Walk, but okay. I could see this helping out certain very particular decks that care about like forests being forests. Next up, Herd Baloth. It's a 5-cost 4/4. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Herd Baloth, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Well, that would get off to the races quickly in a proliferate deck, but it doesn't have a starting counter. So it makes it a little harder to launch, which is good because that's insanely powerful. But for 5 mana, if I want to flood the field with big stuff, I would just run Saplings. I would run a Tendershoot Dryad. What is that, like 2 or 3 mana? 4 maybe? Next up, Archfiend of Sorrows. It's a 7-cost 4/5 demon, flying, and when it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. So basically the flying version of that stupid worm. And Unearth 5. Would I run a 4/5 for basically 2 extra mana just to do a 2/2 sweep? No, not ever. This is one of the cases where it's like, just run both spells. I mean, if a -2/-2 is going to be effective against your opponent, then you're not going to live to see 7 mana. Next up, Undead Augur. It's a 2-cost 2/2 zombie wizard. Whenever it or another zombie you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Doesn't even say non-token. Yeah, this card's nuts. Now keep in mind, this can get out of control real quick because that is not optional. You are drawing a card and you are losing 1 life whenever something dies, if it was a zombie. Next up, Dermo Taxi. Is that like an Uber competitor? It's a 2-cost 0/0 artifact vehicle with imprint. Haven't seen that in a while. As it enters the battlefield, exile a creature card from a graveyard. Okay. I don't remember imprint working exactly that way, but okay. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control until end of turn. Dermo Taxi becomes a copy of the imprinted card, except it's a vehicle artifact in addition to its other types. Where's the crew cost? What is the benefit of this being a vehicle other than putting it in a vehicles deck? But like, well, if it's a vehicle type, doesn't it need a crew cost? Like, can it by definition not attack? Well, I mean, it becomes the creature, but it says, in addition to its other types, it's also a vehicle artifact. So, I don't know. I'd have to look up the exact ruling definition of a vehicle. Maybe if it doesn't have a crew cost, it can attack. I don't know. Very odd. Next up, Ragavan's back, Nimble Pilferer. It's a 2/1 for 1 legendary creature monkey pirate, and whenever Ragavan Nimble Pilferer deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card. Oh, I hate effects that do this. At least they didn't give him haste, but I mean, they could have just made him cost 2 and have haste, and it'd be the same damn thing. So, you know, whatever. You get him out turn 1, he's going to be really damn annoying. And then he has Dash 2, where if you pay 2, you can return to monkey. Next up, Urban Daggertooth. It's a 4-cost 4/3 vigilance, and it has Enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, proliferate. I did like Enrage. It was really dangerous, and it was kind of like a gamble, and like, oh, you didn't know really like how they were gonna block, or if it was clear for you to block without getting it killed. And then they just had a whole bunch of spells that were like, do 1 damage, do 1 damage, do 1 damage. Well, gee, I wonder why that is. Thanks. So in Standard, it was way too easy, and then because it was too easy, they had to water it down. It's like, I'd like to see Enrage come back and for them to actually do it correctly. That would be awesome. So next up, we got a bunch of white ink on a white background that people still insist was somehow better. You are out of your damn minds. So this is King of the Pride. It's a 3-cost creature cat. Other cats you control get +2/+1. Holy shit. So this was in MH1, and it's currently sitting at 59 cents. So I guess Cat Tribal isn't that good, because a double Lord's card for 3, like, are you kidding me? That's not a true double, but close enough. Next up, we got Frog Ninja. Okay, it's actually called Jade Revenge Frog, and it's a frog samurai, actually, with Bushido 2. So that's a thing that exists now. Next up, we got Terrain Shift. It's 4-cost sorcery. Search your library for basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and then rebound. That means, like, exile it and then cast it again at your next upkeep or something roughly equivalent to that. So anytime you cast it, you kind of get to cast it twice, but you got to wait a turn. Well, I mean, I guess technically you would get 1 more land drop from this than Cultivate, so okay. Next up, Verdant Command. Oh boy. I thought this was an existing one because we already had Cryptic Command. I thought this was part of, like, the command cycle, but I don't know, I guess not. So, choose 2 of the following 4 modes, obviously, because it's a command card. Target player creates 2 tapped 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens. Okay. Odd that they said target player, but okay. Counter target loyalty ability of a planeswalker, because we needed a green counter spell in the game. I think now we got to give one to black and we're all set. Exile target card from a graveyard, because this whole set does that. And target player gains 3 life. Boy, there's a really big power difference in that, but they're all 4, like, not that great. I think the completely and utterly ruin a loyalty ability that they've already paid the loyalty for, if it's a -1, that's, like, devastating. And I don't think green has a way of dealing with planeswalkers other than, like, trample, so sure, I mean, why not? It's a giant color break, but, like, whatever. It's pre-ordering at $3.50, guys. This ain't exactly going to be Cryptic Command. So next up, we got Arcbound Shikari, because we don't have enough Arcbound creatures. So this one's modular 2, so it's a 2/2 for 3, kind of. First strike, okay, when it enters battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each other artifact creature you control. Alright, I mean, still, an all-modular deck is just a bunch of vanilla crap with some counters on it, maybe. I don't think this is even the colors for the proliferate thing in the set, so I don't know what they're going for. Next up, Karth the Lion. It's a 4-cost 3/5 human warrior legendary creature. Whenever Mr. Karth here enters the battlefield or a planeswalker you control dies, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a planeswalker card from among them and put it in your hand, because putting it into play would be batshit crazy. Then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Planeswalker's loyalty abilities you activate cost an additional blurry rectangular cube with a dot in it to activate. Is that a house from Monopoly? What is that? Oh, I enhanced it in Photoshop. It's not a box. It's a like a house. So like a pentagon, almost, with a +1 in it. So, you know, just because it says cost, don't think, oh, I have to pay it. That's kind of like cumulative upkeep, and then honestly, the ones that were designed for mana burn that should have already been banned. Just because it says pay, just because it says cost, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So you could take a -1 and make it a 0 with this, is the way I read it. So, damn, they could take like a +3, make it a +4. That'd be wild for Ugin. So you're going to get your ult off real quick. So this guy right here is like the friend of Super Friends. And Super Friends is just an unpleasant deck to play against, so I don't like it. Next up, we got a big old reprint of Soul Herder with the creepy artwork. Yeah, you see that coming? You freaking run, although it's a 1/1. Doesn't look like it, but it's a 3-cost spirit. Whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Soul Herder. Nice. Oh, that's just asking the flicker shit. You gotta be kidding me. It's even in like Reflector Mage colors. Oh my god. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile another target creature you control. There you go. Then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. I probably should have either remembered or just read the rest of that. So it's a self-contained auto flickerer. Yay! So it takes a while to build up, but and it's really there to be like, oh, big, you know, backup threat, and then really just ETB trigger spam. So it sounds powerful, but this was an MH1 and it's only a 35-cent card. Nobody ever really played with it. It's too slow. Wizards set the bar pretty damn high with Modern. So next up, we've got Ephemerate, aka Erase the Lion. Exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Rebound, aka Double Flicker. Everybody I've ever talked to hates this card, and people are already talking about this being problematic in the set, which is kind of funny because it's a reprint, but you know, whatever. I think they mean in relation to like other cards from the set, but currently, even with this being from MH1, it is 25 whole cents. Next up, we've got Discount Mirari, aka Ziran Orb. It's a 0-drop artifact, and if you sacrifice a land, you gain 2 life. That is just all around generally a terrible card. I'm sure there's something you would do on purpose with this, some kind of loop or infinite, you know, whatever. It's all degeneracy. Welcome to Modern. But if you resorted to in a normal game actually having to do this, you're just wasting your opponent's time. You're still going to lose, but you're going to be an asshole in the meantime. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot even harder and die 2 turns later. I mean, this plus landfall, plus you can play a land from your graveyard every turn. Oh, you can get some shit done, though. So I think that's what the real purpose of this is. But it just has that feels bad man written all over it, like on the face of it. Next up, Liquimetal Torque. Okay. It's a 2-cost artifact. You can tap it and add 1 colorless. Cool. You can tap it and target non-land permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. Oh, this will go in that Chrome Spray Painter deck where you turn their land or their whatever. You can turn anything they own into an artifact. Although this one does say non-land. The real version of the deck says anything, and then you just use like naturalize effects. I played against that, and it is the most gimmicky, crazy, batshit Modern deck I have ever seen. Well, I have seen Battle of Wits, actually live in paper. But yeah, I named the deck what I named it because of that episode of SpongeBob where like the little sea anemone pops up and they spray paint it chrome and turn it into like a robot, kind of. It's one where they time travel to the future and everything's chrome. I'm saying the deck is basically a SpongeBob episode. So this would go in that deck and make it even more viable. Yikes. I mean, the dude started just blowing up my lands, and I ended up just beating him with like 2 lands because I got lucky on a lot of land drops. And then there was this one permanent he just couldn't deal with. But when they start blowing up your lands in a mono green deck, you've got problems. So next up, we got Scion of Draco. Who's Draco? I don't know. Does he say Draco? I don't know. 12-cost artifact creature dragon. Shout out to all you British wannabes saying dragon. It's Leviosa. So this has domain. It costs 2 less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. So in other words, put it in a Progenitus deck. And it has flying. It's a 4/4, and each creature you control with vigilance. Each creature you control gains vigilance if it's white, hexproof if it's blue, lifelink if it's black. I mean, there you've lost me. First strike if it's red, and trample if it's green. It's not like nothing in the history of black has ever had lifelink, but it's usually like vampire specific, not black specific. The black mechanic, if I just say what's the black mechanic, it's death touch. Like, what the hell? Whatever. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of neat and kind of impossible to play. I'm sure somebody will cheat it into play. Next up, we got Gary Oak's weird cousin that doesn't come up much in the show, Scurry Oak. It's a 3-cost 1/2 tree folk with Evolve. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature had greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. I feel like they should have made that include your opponent's creatures. I mean, Evolve never really worked when it was in Standard, but okay. And then whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on Scurry Oak, you may create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Nice. Well, the squirrels aren't necessarily probably going to trigger this, but they could. So I'd put this in a squirrels deck. Why not? Next up, Abundant Harvest. It's a 1-cost sorcery. Choose land or non-land. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card of the chosen type. They wrote kind for some reason. Is that like what they call a super type? Or who cares? Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Or just play Adventurous Impulse. It's better. Next up, Sylvan Anthem. It's a 2-cost enchantment. Green creatures you control get +1/+1. Oh, good. Color-based lowered cards. Those are always just fantastic, and that goes double if they don't make them legendary. Whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Really? We're not going to gain 2 life, put a counter on it, and draw a card or something? Because, I mean, this is green we're talking about. Somebody at Wizards really likes green this year. Okay, to be fair, last year, but whatever. So that's batshit crazy. Squirrel deck, by the way. Next up, we have got, what is this? Seal of Removal. It's a 1-cost enchantment. Sacrifice Seal of Removal. Return target creature to its owner's hands. So you attach it as an aura and then activate that ability later, in theory? Unless you're going for Devotion, and even then, I mean, just play Unsummon. I guess the whole thing is you could get rid of their creature like during their end step or at the beginning of their turn, so it like has summoning sickness again if they drop it in. Or you could put it on one of your creatures and you could save them from a spell, I guess. Well, next up, Goblin Bombardment. It's a 2-cost rare enchantment. Let's see. It's sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. There you go. Free sack outlet. Told you they exist. Well, in the Kidnapper deck, aka Active Treason deck, that is just annoying as shit. So I hate it. Less annoying than Fling, though. Next up, we got Scourge Familiar. It's 5-cost 3/2 Phyrexian Imp with flying, and discard a card, add 1 black to your mana pool. And you don't have to tap them, so you can just do it. And that can trigger Madness while also paying for it. That's actually interesting. I feel like 5's a little high, but whatever. Next up, we've got a big purple hawk. Let's see, it's a creature bird spirit. Cool, costs 4. It's flying, and it has Hellbent. Boy, they're resurrecting all the ancient keywords. So that one is Necromancer's Familiar, has lifelink as long as you have no cards in hand. Hellbent is pretty much just code for you built your deck wrong. Potentially. So if you pay 1 black and discard a card, Madness, Necromancer's Familiar gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap Necromancer's Familiar. Ooh, that is going nowhere. Next up, Turark, Dread Enchanter. Hey, it's a person. I always thought Hymn to Turark was like the name of a place or a city or like a, I don't know, a cult or something. I have no idea. A deity? So anyway, it's a 2-cost human cleric. It has Kicker, double black, and protection from white. And then whenever an opponent discards a card, put a 1/1 counter on Turark. And then whenever Turark enters the battlefield, if the Kicker cost was paid, target opponent discards 2 cards at random. Oh, that's even worse than Mind Rot because it's probably going to get something you didn't want gone. So 4 mana would get it done. If you're playing against a white deck with this guy, you're probably just going to win. But that said, he's a 2/1, so it's like, how much could you really do with that? The discard is neat, but it's like, do you really want to pay 1 more than the typical double discard just to get a 2/1 creature out of it? Probably not. I mean, ETB, he's already there, so if you paid the 2 to kick him, you're gonna get 2 counters, though. So that brings him up to 4 for 4. Okay, 4/3. I mean, pro-white, I'd maybe slip a couple of my sideboard or something. I don't know, he doesn't strike me as that good, but he's like neat. Design-wise, he's definitely interesting. Next up, Skophos Reaver, 3-cost 2/3. Kill for Mogus. I had to read the biggest text first. As long as it's your turn, Skophos Reaver gets +2/+0. And Madness too. Simple, whenever you discard it, cast it. I knew there had to be more of those coming. Next up, the First Sliver. Really, we're doing that. We need to go back in time and kill it. This is currently a $28 card, by the way, MH1 reprint. So Cascade and Sliver spells you cast have Cascade. Fantastic. 7/7 for 5. Great. I hate slivers. Next up, Mishra's Factory. Yeah, I can see why we needed a reprint of this. This is only printed about 1,000 times. It's land, you could tap it for colorless, and then if you pay 1, it becomes a 2/2 assembly worker artifact creature until end of turn. It's still a land. And you can tap it, and target assembly worker creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Well, what are the odds you have another one of those in your deck? I mean, even in draft, not that high. I haven't seen that many so far. So next up, we got Road and Ruin. So Road to Ruin, I believe. This is an Aftermath card. Ugly as sin. When this came out first, the stupid Aftermath sideways crap, people were just like, surely they're joking. To which Mark Rosewater replied, don't call me Shirley. So the Road, you pay 3, go get a land, drop it into play, great. Then Ruin, Aftermath, so you can cast it from your graveyard. Ruin deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. Yeah, and the right kind of landfall deck is pretty good, but that's double red. I mean, let alone the fact that not many landfall decks run red. It's not impossible, but I think like white-green was the stronger one, at least around Origins. Well, that's interesting. Next up we got Mystic Redaction, aka what the New York Times has to do to half their fake stories. It's a 3-cost enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and then whenever you discard a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. Well, that's weird and probably wouldn't happen very often. Next up, Sweep the Skies. It's a double blue plus X. Converge! Oh, fun. Create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying for each color of mana spent to cast this spell. They're really pushing 5 color, and not many people are bold enough to play that. It's just, who wants to get mana screwed or color screwed or whatever? What do you think, like 10% of the time? I mean, it's got to happen at least 10%. So next up we got Suspend. Well, not anymore, he just fell. It's a 1-cost instant, blue rare. Oh, here we go. Exile target creature and put 2 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So in other words, they get it back in 2 turns-ish. Next up, Out of Time. It's a 3-cost enchantment, double white, and when Out of Time enters the battlefield, untap all creatures, then phase them out until Out of Time leaves the battlefield. Put a time counter on Out of Time for each creature phased out this way, and then vanishing. Without a number specified, but I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and assume that vanishing uses time counters, otherwise what would be the point of this? So you basically board wipe, and then let's say you get rid of 10 creatures, 5 of yours, 5 of theirs, probably not, but okay. 10 turns later, you'll get them back, and so will they. So you didn't really solve anything, and I think they changed the rules on phasing or something now. It doesn't cause, like, I think equipment or auras to fall off. Or no, counters? Maybe auras, but not counters? Is that what they decided on? Who even knows? What I do know is when it comes back from out of phase, it doesn't get an enters the battlefield effect. So this has got to be like the weirdest board wipe ever, but I feel like in certain decks you could really buy yourself a lot of time. So I mean, a 3-cost white, very big downside board wipe? Sure. All right. It's neat. In a true proliferate deck, you could really keep them gone for a while too, by the way. Next up, we've got 10 artifact lands. You heard me. Artifact lands, legal in Modern. Okay, when Modern was first invented, they pre-banned the 5 artifact lands because they knew that they were so problematic when they first came out that there's no way in hell the Modern format could tolerate a single artifact land. It made Artifact Affinity like a turn 3 deck or something, or just something outrageous. So what do? They turn around and they make 10 dual color artifact lands and stick them into Modern. Are you f***ing kidding me? This is insane. I mean, people have hated Artifact Affinity since Modern came out, and they pre-banned the 5 most enabling cards artifact lands that drove up the artifact count too quickly because they're lands. And now they're just like, oh, let's bring them back, guys. Woo! Are they unbanning the other 5? Is it just a free-for-all now? Did they just think, oh, but it'll all slow down because he's coming tapped? They're also indestructible. An indestructible land. That sounds familiar in an artifact deck. Oh, yeah, that's right. End Soul Artifact. What was it, like Darksteel Ingot or something they would always cast that on? They had an indestructible 5/5? Yeah, that was a treat last time that was legal. I don't like one single thing about these. These are terrible. They're a terrible idea. They're going to be terrible for the game. I hate them. let's move on. The final card, thank God, is Discerning Taste. It's a 3-cost sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. You gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures, creature cards put into your graveyard this way. I honestly stopped paying attention after about the first line, so like, I don't know, it sounds neat, whatever. So anyway, that's your daily dose of batshit crazy compliments of Wizards of the Coast. Thanks for watching, everybody. I am already way too sick today of talking about a format that I have no interest in, and all the pedantic in the comment section saying, you got this little slight thing wrong. You didn't specifically mention that this already exists. Actually, there's already a better version of this. Let me answer your questions and inquiries all at once, all in one big RE colon. I don't give a shit about Modern. And, you know, evidently by this set, guess who else doesn't give a shit about Modern? Wizards of the Coast, bitches! So thanks for watching. We'll have more spoilers very shortly, and I'll see you guys next time.